Local court clerk now facing a judge himself. He's accused of stealing money from the court. Now at 3:19 News reporter Winnie Dorch breaking down these new documents and this clerk's financial past.
He was responsible for handling money you paid to the Macedonia mayor's court for bonds, fines, and costs. Instead, a former clerk of courts is now on the other side of the gavel. This is 43-year-old Scott Rule, a former Macedonia clerk of courts. He's now charged with theft in office, tampering with records, and tampering with evidence. Investigators say between August 2020 and July 2022, Rule stole money received from court cases, altered computer records, and destroyed receipts to hide his dirty work. More than $24,000 in funds were unaccounted for. During a police interview, Rule admitted to taking money from funds he accepted for court, ruining individual receipts and 2 receipt books used to record funds. He was fired August 4th. I went to his home to find out why would he do this. No one came to the door, but digging deeper into his financial history, he's had other money issues in the past. Court documents show he had 2 judgment liens totaling $9 grand back in 2019 in Barberton Municipal Court. He's currently making payments on both. Rule was booked and released December 20th. He is now out on a personal bond. In Macedonia, Winnie Dorch, 19 News.